अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मैं इस वक्त क्वींस में मौजूद हूँ। क्वींस न्यूयॉर्क सिटी का एक बड़ा बोरो है। ये न्यूयॉर्क सिटी ही नहीं बल्कि अमेरिका के एक बड़े डाइवर्स बोरो में इसका शुमार होता है। क्वींस में इमिग्रेंट कम्युनिटीज़ की तादाद दिन ब दिन उसमें इजाफ़ा होता जा रहा है और अब जो अमेरिका की न्यूयॉर्क सिटी की और क्वींस की इलेक्शन पॉलिटिक्स है उसमें इमिग्रेंट कम्युनिटीज़ की एक बड़ी तादाद हमें सामने आते नज़र आ रही है। क्वींस बोरो के प्रेसिडेंट के इलेक्शन नवंबर 3 को होने जा रहे हैं। ये उसी दिन इलेक्शन होंगे कि जिस दिन अमेरिका में सदारती इलेक्शन भी होंगे। लिहाजा जब आप सदारती इलेक्शन के लिए वोट डालने जाएंगे तो आपको बैलेट पेपर पर और बहुत से ऑफिस के लिए भी कैंडिडेट्स के नाम नज़र आएंगे। उनमें क्वींस बोरो का एक सेक्शन होगा। तो क्वींस बोरो के इलेक्शन के लिए जो मुख्तलिफ लोग रन कर रहे हैं उनमें से एक मिस्टर डाओ यिन हैं जो इस वक्त हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। मिस्टर डाओ यिन बुनियादी तौर पर चाइनीज़ अमेरिकन है, बिजनेसमैन है। फ़र्स्ट टाइम इन्होंने इलेक्शन पॉलिटिक्स में हिस्सा लिया। पहले प्राइमरी इलेक्शन में हिस्सा लिया, उसमें कामयाब नहीं हो सके, लेकिन इन्होंने फ़ैसला किया कि ये अपनी जो फ़ाइट है उसको वो जारी रखेंगे और अब ये एक इंडिपेंडेंट कैंडिडेट के तौर पर रन कर रहे हैं। नवंबर 3 को इनका भी इलेक्शन है। तो आज हम आपकी मुलाकात कराएंगे मिस्टर डाओ यिन से। मिस्टर डाओ यिन, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर बीइंग विद अस।
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, when you moved to this country, what do you do, and how come you come into election politics?
My name is Dao Yin. I'm running for Queens Borough President. I have lived in Queens more than 22 years. I have been a Queens activist for more than 2 decades now. I'm the first person of my family become the first generation immigrants. As you know, Queens is the most diverse county in the nation. I have seen so many issues in our community because of the failures, mostly failures of the establishments. For example, most recently, we have seen the crime laws, unfortunately.
Crime rates are getting
laws
higher?
dramatically.
Oh, I see.
Because of the establishment's so-called defunding NYPD, which I was strongly against it, because we need to build a better relationship between the police and the community, not by just defund the police office. The budget. And we need to enhance the NYPD by call the police officers walk on the street to make the community residents feel safe. Not only just stay in the patrol cars. So definitely we need a better relationship between the police and the community. We can do better.
Right. And what about the public schools?
The public schools, as I have been participated in the lots of rallies and testimonies. Overall, we needed to reform the New York City's public school system, which is the largest in the nation.
What kind of reforms? Why do you think why reforms are needed?
The reform is we need to use the money wisely, and we see the unbalanced, but not just take one minority to be against the other one, like the mayor, the chancellor, they are doing. Also, not transparency. The mayor and the chancellor policy caused a lot of controversies between the communities. As a person from the Asian community, we respect the hard work students, hard work parents as well. So I was in the movement to keep SHSAT, to keep GNT. And while we still need to think about the balancing of the whole community, I never think the city is using more around like 32 billion education funding in New York City wisely. So, and there need to be, again, there will be need to be more Asian community members be involved in education boards.
And if we talk about the public health sector, and we see recently during COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of talk about the racial disparities. People who were deprived of less resources, so they became more victims of the COVID-19. So what do you think, what kind of public health sector reforms or steps needs to be taken in the borough of Queens? Because immigrant communities is larger in number based in this borough.
Yes, we need to create more new health facilities with the appropriate programs to think about our Queens, which was the hardest hit by the COVID-19 with reasons. Because Queens public hospital systems, even without the public health crisis, there are a lot of issues there. For example, a part of Queens, let's say College Point, the place lacks of hospitals. Think about when in the emergency, how can people get the treatment timely? And in the especially the big hospital like Amherst Hospital is always crowded. So that's the current
Handle the load.
Yes, infrastructure issues that made the situation, the COVID-19 situation, worse. That's why I said most people, including me, we don't think the establishment politicians, the elected officials, they ever have done a good job.
Right. So, Mr. Dao Yin, New York City itself is a city of immigrants, and Queens Borough particularly is a borough of immigrants now. So, what do you think? What does your election means to immigrant community?
As I said, I'm the first generation immigrant of my family, and we have in Queens we have about 78% residents who were born outside of the United States. So, which make Queens the most diverse county in the nation. So now, especially with the value crisis, that we need a creative leadership, not to go too far left, not to go too far right, but going forward. That's why we need a creative leadership. And because my core agenda was public safety, Queens residents' jobs, affordable housing, and the transportation. So I think Queens does need a new leadership, not just speak, but more likely to listen to the people all over the Queens. And the person which has the capacity to call all the leaders, activists across the Queens to listen to their plans, ideas, opinions to make a better community of Queens.
So elections are going to be held in an atmosphere when there are now more cases being reported in New York City, especially in Brooklyn and Queens. So what do you think, what measures needs to be taken to make this election safe for the voters? And
I think we encourage people to vote more using the absentee ballots and start voting on the early votes to avoid the crowded poll site.
so can you tell our immigrant communities how they can use absentee ballot and mail-in voters option? Can you tell them and guide them a little bit how they can use these options?
You can go to NYC voters website. You can apply the absentee ballots online, and also our office accept the hard copy application. We can deliver your application to the Queens Board of Election. Anytime you can call us for help, and also I want more Asian people from Queens, from New York City to be engaged
Right.
in the political world.
And you said people can get in touch with you via phone. Do you want to give any phone numbers to your voters, to your constituents? Yeah.
We do have phone numbers for helping people to get to vote. The first one is 347-506-8740. 347-506-8740. The second one is 718-772-8947. 718-772-8947. And also I have one for mostly English, is 917-741-8420. 917-741-8420.
Mr. Dao Yin, you are also an immigrant. You are first generation immigrant who is also running for the public office now. What do you think? How much our immigrant community is engaged in practical political system, and if not, what more needs to be done?
First of all, I have been seeing more and more Asian candidates coming out to run the city and the state and the borough positions. I'm glad to see that. Secondly, in terms of the population, Queens has at least 23% Asian community. So it's
how many,
still not enough.
And how many registered voters are in Borough of Queens?
I think there are 1.7 million registered voters in Borough of Queens with all parties.
And how much turnout you are expecting on November 3rd?
I think the turnout will be around 45% because this is the presidential election year.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, in Borough of Queens, a large number of Pakistani Americans are also based in this borough. They are living here for 3-4 decades, and they are your constituents, they are would-be voters. So what message would you like to give to the Pakistani American community, Pakistani American voters, and your constituents, if you look into the camera and talk to them, please, for like 2 minutes?
First, I'd like to thank Pakistani community. You have helped me a lot of things. I started my campaign in December 2019. I have been in Pakistan community many times to deliver my literatures, talk to people, and visit their homes. I know your community needs and the people's concerns. I will do my best to get elected to become your next Queens Borough President. And also, I hope more people come from your community, be engaged in political world, because this is a democracy. Sisters and brothers, thank you so much for your help. Please come out to vote on November 3rd. Is the general election day. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर बीइंग विद अस। जी हमारे साथ मिस्टर डाओ यिन थे और आपने इनका इलेक्शन मैनिफेस्टो सुना, इनका बैकग्राउंड जाना और ये क्या इनका इनकी इलेक्शन और अगर ये कामयाब होते हैं तो इमिग्रेंट कम्युनिटीज़ के लिए उसके क्या मायने होंगे। ये बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो आपके लिए जानना ज़रूरी था। थैंक यू वेरी मच। इंशाल्लाह फिर मुलाकात होगी।